peace and serenity, reliable for survival. Drowner and provider of sanity. Water, the complex old arrival. Water, a deep mystery, unknown if trustful. Water blue, but never colourful. Water, the old complex arrival. Water, whether ice or vapour, still remains the same mystery. Water, confused what it's for. Water, the old complex arrival.
My name's Rachel. I'm the Food, Land and Wellbeing Project Coordinator at Fates for Change. We're an environmental charity currently working across Liverpool City region and Cheshire, and our work is rooted in the knowledge that the well-being of our planet and all the beings are interdependent. Beliefs, teachings and practices held in common by all world faith communities and people who don't have any religious faith. Our work is practical, mainly through local partnership projects, taking meaningful action locally to mitigate climate change. This year we've had a big focus on water through our Water Stories project based at Roots in the City. Water and climate change are inextricably linked. Globally, we're experiencing more and more extreme weather events leading to flooding and drought, and we're seeing the effect this is having on biodiversity, food crops, housing, sanitation and access to vital services, as well as land being lost to sea level rises and much more. Locally, we are definitely feeling the effects in our gardens, on our streets, in our homes, with deaths due to storms and flooding. And 2025 has been the hottest summer on record. It's a problem we can't ignore.
Let go, surrender and flow. No more holding on. Now I can flow like a river. No more.
The Water Stories project connected people across the city region with water. What does water mean to us? What concerns we have surrounding our waterways? And what action we can take as individuals and community groups to help protect them. In community workshops, we've creatively explored our own connections with water through storytelling, poetry, drawing and collage. We also collaborated with wonderful local organisations such as Holistic Harmonies and Heartstrong Yoga on water-themed singing and yoga sessions at Roots in the City, as well as Kinsley & Co, who ran an interactive pirate story time at the Secret Garden. In workshops, people shared early memories of learning to swim, visiting the seaside, and even collecting water from the well with their grandparents. We discussed how often we take water for granted, where there are many people who don't have instant access to clean water at home.
My name is Anna Kasabian, and I am a volunteer at the Roots in the City Garden, which is part of Faiths for Change. I've been living in Liverpool for 20 years. I came for a post at Liverpool University, but I'm retired now. I have a garden of my own, but there's something really important about doing it together with other people. There's something really special about sharing the work. And, you know, I get to see a steady group of people week after week after week, and we chat and catch up on each other's lives and stuff, and so it's a social thing too, and it's super helpful. I struggle with depression, and so for me this is an important outlet. It's a way of being in touch with people that's low-key and not very demanding, and so it's perfect for me.
Hi, my name is Ryan Hammersley. I'm a volunteer with Roots in the City. I come here to do gardening and horticultural activities. I've got a friend the other side of the world in Zambia, and they got wells. Now they have to keep their wells locked or a big rock on them to stop like animals and children falling in, which is difficult then for the old people to get water. It's 2025 and he said they just all got a letter to say that the government is bringing a big tanker down full of water from the lake with a tap so they can go to there to get water for the old people who have to struggle. We seem to take it for granted here because we've got hot showers, we've got taps of hot and cold water, we've got swimming baths, You've got all that, and then on the other side of the world, they're like struggling for water. I mean, Ben's got a farm, so they need the water to come as rain to fill the crops. But if they get heavy rain, then that cuts the electric off. So they've got the need for water, but then when the water comes, they've got no electric to do anything.
My name's Ian. I'm 53 years old. I live in the city centre of Liverpool. Water's played quite an important part in my life from an early age. Initially as a child I was petrified of water. My father got me over that fear by taking me swimming for 2 weeks solid. We were very lucky as a child growing up. We had a family home up in Scotland, a holiday home, which was right on the beach, literally in the saltwater Firth in southwest Scotland. And so I was a water baby from that point on. We'd be doing anything from crab fishing on the rocks at high tide to swimming in the sea in our trunks in October, which was near Arctic, I can tell you.
Throughout my adult life, I've always lived near at least a river and not very far from the ocean. There's something about water that's very important to me. I love going and sitting and watching the water move when I need some clarity or some, kind of empty space to clear my head. I've always relied on being near water for that. We grew up fishing as a significant part of our food for the year. We would pack the freezer with fish fillets and rely on it as a major protein source in my family. And there's all kinds of things. I mean, I just think water's life-giving.
So I'm Cheryl Ashton, I'm the project manager at Lump Meadows.
And I'm Molly Toll and I'm the Communications and Engagement Officer at Lump Meadows.
And we're currently sat at Screen 1 on the Nature Reserve at Lump Meadows. And this area that we're sat in, we're just discussing how dry it is this year. So 2025, whereas we should normally have a lot of water in our flood alleviation reservoir, we're absolutely dried out, and one of the pools that is dried out at the moment usually has a lot of waders on it, and basically the water levels aren't really deep enough.
No, so this is the lowest water levels that I've seen in 5 years since I started. But when I did first start on this project, 54 days into it, we had a flood that was like a biblical level flood, and we were flooded right up to the edge of the car park, and it was holding, is it 1 million cubic meters?
1 million cubic meters, equivalent to 1 million Mini Coopers.
Yeah. So to then have the complete extreme of the other way, you sort of think like, wow.
Yeah, it just shows you what a stress the wildlife's under. It's really hard to describe the difference that it's made to areas around. I know that it takes water from other areas and reduces flooding in urban areas. We don't have specific measurements of that, but we do have sort of evidence of the volume of water that we actually end up with in the nature reserve. So that 1 million cubic meters of water if we hadn't had that nature reserve for that water to go into, where would it have gone? That would have gone into all of the urban areas around. It definitely protects, it holds the water back so that it's not flooding into areas further downstream. But as in volumes, we can only go off the volume, the capacity of the actual reserve as such, yeah.
My name is Dr. Juliet Staples and I work at Liverpool City Council as a Senior Environmental Project Manager. Recently, I've been working on a project called Urban Green Up. This was funded by the EU under the Horizon 2020 funding programme, and it was worth about 14 million euros in total. During the project, Liverpool installed a whole range of different nature-based solutions, which included things such as the city's first urban rain garden, floating ecosystem islands, and a number of sustainable urban drainage schemes across the city. The Urban Green Up project ended in May 2023. It's left a legacy of sites across the city and it was recognised with national and international awards. And importantly, it's helped the city understand the value and the benefit that green and blue infrastructure can have in cities. For the rain garden, we were able to demonstrate a range of different benefits. Environmentally, there was up to a 90% reduction in the speed of water flow to drain, and also 86% of all flows and rain was fully captured in the rain garden, helping to reduce local surface water flooding. We also measured improved water quality, especially for things like nutrients and suspended solids. We saw an 857% increase in pollinator counts and a 100% increase in pollinator biodiversity, as well as improved local air quality and temperature reductions. Socially, the rain garden improved the street scene. It made it more vibrant and more colourful and green. We were able to reduce the risk of flooding to adjacent properties. And importantly, we've been able to engage some local community and volunteers to help maintain the garden and for us all to learn how the rain garden functions longer term. One of the more innovative nature-based solutions was the Wapping Dock Floating Ecosystem Island. This pioneering and first-of-a-kind island covered an area of 63 metres squared and was made from recyclable and non-toxic materials, and it was planted with a range of saltwater-tolerant plants on the surface, and underneath it had 2 bio-huts, and these were metal cages filled with washed oyster shells to enable additional underwater habitat. The idea was to improve the biodiversity in the dock and to replicate habitat tiers that would occur naturally in an estuarine system. The island remains in situ today. It's offered improved contact for people with nature, it's enhanced the dock environment, it's provided new habitat, attracted wildlife, increased biodiversity, it's helped to encourage investment, it's acted as a route marker, and it's also helped to promote discussions around climate change and water in the city.
Wait, what did you break?
No, it wasn't working.
Come on. Long time.
That's all my job, but I want
All our plants are bees and butterfly friendly.
We are organic and never use harmful pesticides.
We collect over 20,000 litres of rainwater per year.
We recycle and reuse things wherever possible.
We grow lots of different types of fruits and vegetables in our garden. We serve our fresh homegrown produce in our Tango Community Cafe.
I'm John Robinson. I helped with Ambridge to establish the garden on what was a derelict piece of land. It was completely taken from that condition over a period of 10 years to the official opening in 2010. And since 2010 we've been open 3 days a week for people to come either from Tango or just from the outside community. When the garden was established, we realised that we needed to collect as much water, rainfall, harvest it wherever we could. So we harvest it off the buildings and we harvest it off the greenhouse and so on. And we use a vast amount of rainwater per year. But in climate change we're finding that even that is not enough. And therefore we're having to look at other ways of collecting large amounts of rainwater.
My name's Hannah, and I've been involved with Face for Change for about a year and a half now, after I started coming to one of their community gardens. So I've been coming as a community gardener, but then also started working with Face for Change on the water project, because I work for a charity called the Mersey Gateway Environmental Trust, who work to protect the Upper Mersey estuary. I live on a canal boat here at the marina in Liverpool, so I'm very connected to water in that way. Water's really important because it allows me to live this kind of lifestyle. I do have concerns about kind of water with climate change, with us having longer, drier summers. The water levels, especially on the canals, have been quite low. There's certain parts of the canals that have had to close because of low water. So that might become more of a problem as the years go on and we have these kind of more of these droughts and things like that. Living on a boat, I'm quite aware of how much water I use, because the more water I use, the more often I have to fill up my water tank. So it has made me quite conscious really of how much water I'm using. So it's kind of good in two ways really. That one, I don't have to fill my water tank as much, but also been thinking about conserving water. So things I'll do on the boat might be maybe only doing the washing up once a day, and things like that really, just to limit how much water I'm using. So I'm Conservation Officer at the Mersey Gateway Environmental Trust, and we're a charity who work to protect the Upper Mersey estuary and the surrounding green spaces. So we do that through practical conservation, environmental monitoring, research and education. I've been with the Trust now for about 7 months at this point, and I've just learnt so much about the Mersey since I've been working with the Trust. So one of the things I really like to tell people about is why the Mersey is brown. Some people think that's because it's dirty, that nothing lives in there, but actually it's very natural for an estuary to be a brown colour because we've got the tide coming in and out every day, and that kind of gets a lot of sediment from the mud that lines the river. That's all kind of suspended in the water. So that's all that colour is about really. And actually historically the Mersey has been very heavily polluted by some quite nasty chemicals. But in the late 80s legislation came into place that stopped, kind of controlled what was allowed to go into the river. And since then the recovery of the Mersey has been amazing, from being functionally dead kind of in the early 80s to being full of life now. So it's really exciting to learn about all the wildlife that lives in the Mersey. The food chain starts really in the mud. There's lots of invertebrates like worms and snails, crabs, and they are a really important food source for all of the birds that visit the estuary. We have thousands of birds that use the estuary as a feeding ground, and it is of international importance to lots of species of birds. Within the river itself, we've identified over 60 different species of fish, and we think there's even more than that. Some really big species like salmon, which people might not expect. We also, because we've got all of these fish, we see lots of marine mammals coming into the river to feed on the fish. So things like dolphins, porpoise, seals are quite regular visitors to the Mersey. So it really is full of life, and that's something that we try and spread the message about at the Mersey Gateway Trust. So recently, as part of the water quality testing project, we had a walk and workshop with Face for Change to train some of the participants in how to test for water quality.
So we collected a sample of water from the Mersey near the marina here, and we then tested for 3 different things in that water sample. So we tested for ammonia levels, nitrite and nitrate levels, and phosphate levels. And what we found were that the levels of all 3 of those things were not any big cause for concern, which is great. But what we'll do is test that every month so that we can see if there's any change over time. And then if there's any results that are particularly irregular, we can repeat it, or we can then look into why that might be.
Currently I'm swimming in Queenstock and Liverpool, and so it's pertinent to me right now, the quality of the water. And we recently did a field trip where we actually tested the quality of the water, and it'd be interesting to monitor how that continues. But I think the continued pressure on certainly MPs, local government, to continue the pressure on the water companies, because my personal opinion is water should be a public entity. It shouldn't be a privatised stockholder kind of driven environment. It's fundamental to every single one of us. Every single kind of life form relies entirely on water and the quality of water. There isn't much more important to all of us, really.
Here in the garden, we make sure we don't overwater the plants, because that'll kill them. So we water, we use a hose pipe. We've got 2 ponds with little fountains in. They're nice, but there's no life in them yet. We need tadpoles and fish and stuff to give us that ecological balance, because they get out with the insects and stuff. Just down the road there's I think it's called a little rain garden, and it's in tiers. And when the rain comes, there's tanks underneath it, and they store the water, and then the plants then can draw the water up. Because it's on a hill, you see, the water comes out, and then it just fills each one as it goes. I've noticed over the last few years the floods that keep coming. I mean, England never used to have floods. Now every year there's a part of England that floods, and America floods badly. So I don't know whether it's global warming or what it is, but we are seeing more water coming from the skies, and we're not equipped for it at all.
Because we have fiddled with the landscape so much as humans, yeah, and like how we try and like control where water flows, and we've got so many like surfaces now that water can't like get through. It's really hard to sort of say for definite because Lump Meadows was flooded, that has saved a specific area from flooding instead. But if you make space for nature, nature is, landscapes like this are designed to naturally to like alleviate flooding of rivers and the storms and things, that like it's only a benefit. Like you say, where else is the water going to go? Yeah, that's another way people can help. They can, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, if you can, to try and have parts of the garden where the water can get through into the ground. It takes less pressure off drains as well.
Flow like a river, no more holding on. Let go, surrender and go, no more holding on. Now I can flow like a river.
So some other actions you can take to have a positive environmental impact, as well as maybe save some money on your water bills, are checking for leaks or drips around the house. making sure you're not unknowingly wasting water in your bathroom, your kitchen or your garden. Getting a water meter, be more conscious of how much water you're using. And maybe getting involved with some of the positive projects and actions mentioned in our film. Just get in touch with us at Faith for Change or any of the other organisations mentioned.